I'm Joanna Coles, Chief Content Officer of The Daily Beast, and this is an emergency Daily Beast podcast to address the huge, world-shattering event that happened at the weekend. You know what I'm talking about. Jeff Bezos and Zohran Sánchez joined together in holy matrimony. $50 million. Pfft. We don't deny them happiness or love. Hell, anybody who's been divorced deserves another chance at happiness. But Liz Plank, author of Feministabulous, doesn't agree. She spent the weekend drinking iced coffee through paper straws and then suddenly realised there's something wrong with this picture. So we decided we would talk to the humorist, the author, the podcast and the Substacker to find out what she really thinks. This is an emergency podcast, obviously, in the wake of the biggest event in the world this weekend, the Venice bacchanal of Jeff Bezos and Zohran Sánchez. And Liz, you watched the whole thing while you were sucking iced coffee through a paper straw, which prompted a column which went completely viral. Just take us through it. I'm going to read a couple of lines from it, but just take us through the moment when you realised you were using a paper straw and they were spending $50 million on their wedding in Venice.
Yeah, I think it's a feeling that is familiar for a lot of people. Sometimes it's hard to name the sort of apocalyptical, right, sort of like dissociative state that we can be in sometimes where, I'll be cleaning out like a ketchup bottle, to make sure that I can recycle it properly. And then, I'll see Jeff Bezos, on his super yacht.
In foam.
Yes. And doing foam parties and, 94 private jets flying into, Venice, into a sinking city, basically. And then at the same time, I'm seeing seniors, disabled seniors being zip tied at the Capitol for just fighting for their right to be alive and not have their meds taken away from them with this new budget bill that is being voted on as we speak. And I think many of us have experienced that kind of contrast, right? And I think a lot of us just dissociate because you have to go on with your life. But there was something very ironic about my paper straw disintegrating in my mouth as I was watching Zohran Sánchez, inherit $260 billion. And so I want rich people to have a great summer. I really do. And it will be a lot easier if we had proper taxation on everybody, and we had social services that weren't being taken away to create a tax cut for rich people to have, other swimming pools and other private jets at the cost of, life-saving services for people who do pay taxes in this country.
It was a really shocking image to see the people in the wheelchairs being zip-tied. These were seniors in their wheelchairs protesting the cuts against Medicare and Medicaid, and that was an extraordinary image of them, actually. But I wanted to come back to this sense, because one of the things that struck me about this extraordinary bacchanal was, the reluctance with which Leo DiCaprio wanted to be seen. Leo DiCaprio, normally the most dangerous place is between Leo DiCaprio and a camera, right? But he had his hat over his head. It was like he was there, but he didn't want you to know he was there. Meanwhile, his girlfriend was frantically posting, so we all knew she was there. Why do you think he was so reluctant?
I think deep down, again, I think celebrities are people. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is a human being. I think
Is he though? Is he?
Is he? I mean, again, I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Again, I want everyone to have a great hot girl summer, and I think Leo knows.
Leo's
right?
definitely going to have a hot girl summer.
I mean, clearly. I saw an article. He broke his 25-year-old and under rule because his girlfriend is 27.
Oh,
so,
God, that's
huge
good
growth.
for him. You see, shows flexibility.
Yeah,
shows
there we go.
agile mind, flexibility. Yeah. Even if he's getting older, normally the girlfriends get younger. I like this. This is great.
Yeah. It's amazing. But yeah, I think he does know that there's a hypocrisy there, right? And that he will be judged for being there. And to be honest, I think when I saw him do that, I was like, okay, well, at least he sort of knows that he should be doing better. I was sort of shocked to see, just celebrities in full glam, right? Like getting on these boats and wanting to sort of promote the fact that they were there. I found that very sort of shocking. And I don't know if, that kind of blows my mind. That's where I go like, who's around them? It's like the whole space controversy, right? You just wonder what's, who in their life is sort of helping them remain connected to the real world, which I think is hard when you're a celebrity. You're not in the real world. But Leo, to me, that I actually like that he hid his face. That felt normal.
One of the things I find so interesting is this, is perhaps now that Donald Trump, has given permission to everybody to release their inner vulgarian. So where it used to be that billionaires were for the most part, relatively discreet about their wealth, and, a lot of them, like Warren Buffett, signed the giving pledge that they were actually going to give their money away before they died. Actually, now it seems to be like, no, we're going to show off as much as we possibly can, and we're really going to enjoy it. And not only are we going to enjoy it, but we're going to post it, we're going to monetize it, and we're going to flaunt it. And what I find really intriguing as the confetti settles in Venice outside the gritty palace is the idea that in New York, we are now wrestling with a Democratic socialist who's won the New York primary for the Democratic Party, which is causing panic not only in the Democratic Party, but also the Republican Party. And I can't help feeling the two aren't connected.
1,000,000%. And I have watched the internal fighting on the Democratic side, being so perplexed. Honestly, as perplexed as I was watching this wedding in Venice, where it just, again, it feels very out of touch. Zohran had again, Democrats have been talking for, years, but especially I think in the last few months of just, if only we had, a candidate that could get young people excited. If only we could get a candidate that gets men excited. And Zohran was leading, right, with both of those demographics. I think one of the things that fascinated me was his support with young men, right? Because again, I think on the Democratic side, there's this idea that, okay, we have to, we know that there's been millions of dollars invested in like, how are we going to talk to men, right? How are we going to change the way that we relate to men when men want to be able to pay for the rent, right? Like men are people and people want to be able to, work and that if they have a job, then they can live, right? So he excited young people, he excited young men, and here are, Democrats just kind of like shitting the bed. And I'm very disappointed to see it, but at the same time, very excited. There's a lot to be excited about, as much as, the Bezos wedding and the Zohran discourse and this, budget bill, there's a lot of positive things, not only what happened in New York, but what's happening in Hungary. Not to like take us fully off topic, but, there was a pride parade that turned into basically a banned pride parade in Hungary by Orbán, who said, don't go. And if you go, we're going to use facial recognition to arrest you. And that ignited, right, people who aren't even queer or wouldn't have even have gone to a pride parade, perhaps, to go and, take a real stance against this authoritarian regime. And 300,000 people showed up, right? And people who, again, and obviously they're there, supporting gay pride and queer people, but it became about so much more than that, where people realize, like, if you're going to use facial recognition to arrest gay people, like, you're going to use it against me. And it's the same thing with all of these issues. And I think the Bezos wedding, in a way, I hope becomes a way for progressive like messaging to really be about the working class, to really be about economics, and that this, man who has helped, Republicans. And I think that's, again, I don't think the wedding was good, but I think I just want people to be angry.
I think
I just want people to let themselves.
It felt inflammatory, didn't it? I want to come to a point that you made about actually how much Jeff Bezos or Amazon has paid in tax in a moment. But I want to ask you about a very good point that Frank Bruni raised in the New York Times, which was about this this sort of mob of celebrities that turn up to everything, and it's the same people. So the guests at the Bezos wedding, including the Bezoses now, are also it's like a rolling caravan of celebrities. They turn up at the Met Gala, they turn up at the Oscars, the Golden Globes, and it's this sort of pack of celebs that just turn up, and you're like, are they really friends? I mean, this is just a strange bunch of people. It's Oprah, it's Gayle, it's the Kardashians, it's Leo. It just seems, it's Ivanka and Jared. It's a sort of strange mob of people that turn up at everything.
Yeah, I don't know if they're friends. I think they're there. Again, this is again.
I mean, it's almost as if they're there to amplify the wedding. I almost felt like the guests had been invited based on their Instagram following.
Right. And again, even like if you think about Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, right, and Elon Musk, right, just a few years ago, right, these were not people that we would have seen at the inauguration, and certainly not get a front row at the inauguration. And I think that there's a feeling cool, it's a sort of primitive, instinctual human thing to, I got invited, I'm part of the crew. But you're part of what crew? You're part of what are you, what message are you sending by going to that wedding? What I would love is like a list of the people who were invited and didn't go.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
I mean, we had a piece at The Beast saying that Donald Trump had been invited and Jeff Bezos was disappointed he hadn't gone. And you think, wow, because you went to the inauguration, the least he could do is come to your wedding.
Yeah. And again, there's so many things that feel not normal, right? And we kind of get used to it. But I think that, the inauguration, we talked about it a bit, but I think it's worth reasserting, like, it is not normal that we had, tech CEOs and CEOs in general have a better seat than many of the public servants, right, in our government. And I think that we've sort of gotten used to that in a weird way. It's, the whole techno, sort of bureaucracy or sort of oligarchy mixed with with tech giants sort of being enmeshed and in charge, and enabling this government. Celebrities with large Instagram followings want to get into that power and influence. And they do have power and influence, which is again sort of the scary thing. Public servants, people who are elected, should be the ones who have the most power and sort of agency in terms of deciding what happens in this country. And we haven't totally lost that, but we've certainly moved very far, very quickly away from that.
But I wonder if this is a tipping point, this wedding, because what I was fascinated by was when Vogue started posting the pictures of the dress fitting, the comments, at least the first probably 200 comments that I read, were almost entirely critical, saying this is ridiculous, enough already, shame on you, Vogue, no wonder you're stepping down, Anna Wintour. And then another thing that went completely viral alongside your column was the picture of Lauren getting dressed, and then in the corner were two young, what looked like seamstresses, dressed in a uniform, looking utterly depressed, and as if they were kind of, I don't know, old-fashioned uniformed servants. And that shot off. I mean, that went crazy viral. So you realise that people are looking for clues as to how other people are finding this, and they're finding it a revolting spectacle of complete show-offery. And it's the show-offery I find so interesting, because Lauren Sánchez was a journalist. She's sensitive to the audience and what people think of her, and this felt like too much, just too much for everybody.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't see that photo, and I can't wait to see it. I think a lot of people feel powerless right now, and literally those comments, like people who made those comments, again, I don't want to encourage cyberbullying, but like you can cyberbully for democracy, right? Like you actually commenting. And again, even, I talk about this a lot as, a creator or influencer, right? Like that you are, if you're following an influencer, you are influencing them, right? Like I am totally influenced and I'm reading the comments from people who follow me. And then I bring those things into the messaging and into the platform that I have. And same thing with, again, commenting on a vote. So today, again, as we speak, the Senate is voting on the budget bill. And what's happening right now is there's a whole contingency online. There's a spreadsheet that is being circulated of not only, the sort of 3 senators that could be flipped, because basically, again, it feels super defeatist. It feels like, well, we actually only need 1 Republican at this point to flip for the entire budget bill to, not work. And so people are circulating the, handles of those 3 sort of very persuadable Republicans.
It's 3 senators, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and who's the other one?
Ron Johnson
from Wisconsin.
And there's a spreadsheet of not only their handles, for people to sort of flood their accounts. And obviously, again, traditional phone calls also work. But yeah, if you can do this from your phone, right? But there's also a list of their donors and their Instagram and Facebook and social pages for people to flood those pages with comments so that those donors are also signaling back to their, the representatives to vote no on this bill. And again, by the time this podcast airs, we'll know if it worked or not. But I think it's really the thing that I want to always leave people with during this time and during these very unprecedented times is that you are making a difference. There are things that you can do every single day. And like, again, these, some of these donors like LL Bean, some of them have, after we've been posting about it, a lot of people have been commenting, remove their comments, right? Like they're starting to respond to it, and who knows what they're doing behind, closed doors, but there's all kinds of actions that you can do. And again, I think commenting on Vogue and being like, we don't like this, capitalism will do its thing, like Vogue wants to sell copies and Vogue wants to make money. And if you say, I'm not going to buy this and I'm not going to, I'm going to unfollow, like those are real consequences for corporations that at the end of the day, like you have so much influence and you have so much power over.
Do you think that anyone is ever going to give up Amazon, though? Much as I railed against this wedding, and I'm thrilled for them that they found love. I think anybody that's on a second or third marriage deserves a good shot at happiness. I wish them many, many foam parties in their future. I just didn't like the show-offeriness of it, and I think it's tone deaf at a time when, there is just the biggest inequality we've ever had between rich and poor. But I'm not going to give up Amazon. I wish I could. I just find it irresistible. It's so good. It's so convenient. It's ruined the high street. It's so convenient.
It is. And, Anam Girodas writes about this a lot. And he's, talked to me about this where he doesn't, it's, getting rid of Amazon, again, do it. I'm not saying that boycotts don't work. But it's a little bit like washing the ketchup bottle, like you're asking people to individually, do something that collectively and again, the government should be doing, which like people should be, people should have a right to have Amazon Prime, I think, and have, again, like not lose on certain conveniences that company provides. The problem is that Jeff Bezos doesn't pay income tax. The problem is, he's not being properly taxed and Amazon is not being properly taxed. So again, if we were able to do that, then everyone would be able to keep their Amazon Prime. Everyone and rich people could be going on their vacations and having fun and we wouldn't be pissed.
You actually, in your piece, you actually say that Jeff Bezos paid 0 in federal income taxes in both 2007 and 2011. And in 2011, he claimed a $4,000 child tax credit. Is that true?
Yeah.
And then you say Amazon paid nothing in federal taxes in 2018.
Literally.
That feels like it needs a much wider audience.
Yeah. And who also, evaded a lot of taxes? Donald Trump, right? And those stories were written and told, and unfortunately, it didn't move enough people to.
Well, I think a lot of people think, how do I evade tax? I don't think they think, that's really terrible. They're like, okay, well, if he did it, I must be able to do it.
Well, I think, again, the right has done a really good job of selling the American dream, right? And sort of selling the idea that this could be you. And I think that photo actually that you talked about, that dispels that myth, because when you see that photo, people will watch that photo and be like, I'm not Lauren Sánchez. I'm the woman behind her, right? Like, I'm the woman in the uniform, or I'm the person in the uniform.
But I think in a way it's all linked, right? When you see very rich people showing off like that, it just feels disconnected from actually the anxiety that most people have, that they don't have more than $400 for an emergency, that 50% of the American population don't have more than $400 to deal with an emergency. And that's the difference between the very rich and 50% of Americans.
Literally. And again, coming back to, that's why Democrats need to get behind someone like Zohran, who is speaking to the working class directly and offering, free buses, right? Like things that would help the working class, and that are simple and pragmatic. And again, I hope people feel angry, when they see those images. That's why I wrote the article. At first I was like, okay, I'm just going to ignore it because I'm just pissed off. But then I was like, no, it's actually really, really important for us to pay it, sort of pay attention to what's going on and actually see all of what you're talking about, which is the showing off, the lavishness, and just the contrast with the average American.
There's another, what I loved about the photo that you just referenced with the two women in the corner is that it was inadvertent, that they didn't know when they were putting that photo out that that's what people would home in on. There's another picture of her sitting on a sort of kitchen sink in a rather nice looking sort of artisanal kitchen, but in the corner under the sink there appears to be a couple of toilet rolls, and clearly nobody had noticed it, but it's just the juxtaposition of her sitting on this kind of kitchen counter, and then that's where they store the toilet rolls. So worth looking out for. If you're going to go to Vogue or Vogue.com and look at the pictures, I advise you to spot the toilet rolls.
Why do you think Vogue did that?
I wonder if it was a wink to people. And I can't help wondering if Anna Wintour just had enough. At this point, she was like, oh, God, it's time to go. It's time to go. I can't do another one of these.
Yeah, because I love that, the idea that it is a wink, because it felt, Katie Couric, our girl, commenting on how tacky it looked, right? Like, I guess, she's, did you see Katie's comment?
I did see, we wrote a piece about her comment. But I wondered if some of the imagery in Vogue was deliberately done to be subversive. So on the one hand, it looked like it was all magic, but in fact, you have the two sullen seamstresses, and then you have the toilet rolls.
Wow. I'm obsessed with that take, Joanna. I'm obsessed. I love that. So they did it on purpose to get all these people commenting and being angry. I love that.
I'm wondering, I can't help noticing they have very, very good photo editors over there. Every part of an image is studied within a moment of its life. I'm pretty confident that was a subversive message going out from the unionized employees at Condé Nast.
Sure. Okay, well, I love that. Whoever was behind it, if it was one person behind the scene, sometimes it's one person going rogue, like maybe the editor, or the whole team. I'm loving it, and everyone can do it, no matter what your job is, no matter where you live, no matter what community you're in. Like, you can influence people in so many more ways than I think you can possibly understand, or you're possibly being sort of told, right? And that's a perfect example. Right? Of Vogue. Yeah, Vogue could have just not done it, but doing it in a way that's subversive is so fascinating as a way to,
we'll never know. We'll never know if it was subversive or not, but my hunch is it was. There's been so much negative feedback online about this. What do you think Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez actually get out of this?
Oh, what do they get out of having these? Well, they want to be cool, right? Like they're rich, but they probably want to be cool even more, right? Or again, they're sort of I'm sure they want more money, but probably there's diminishing returns when you're in the billions. And so being cool, right, is
this what makes you cool? Wouldn't it have been cool to take their 70 family members and a couple of decent friends and actually just go off and do this somewhere discreet? Or do you think the more money you spend on a wedding, the truer the love?
Wasn't there a study? It was a few years back, but like the more you spend on your wedding, the more likely you are to get a divorce. I don't know. I remember like 10 years ago that was like maybe it's been disproven, but no, it's. I mean, I think about this all the time with like money and yeah, showing off. Like people who name drop a lot, right? Like people who know a lot of celebrities don't name drop. They don't. They'll say, oh, my friend, and it's like Jennifer Aniston. They won't name drop. People who have a lot of money and feel secure in that don't do these lavish displays of wealth. To your point, they do private things. And there are many celebrities, right? There are many rich people on earth who are prime examples of that. But to me, yeah, there's something about, I think it was almost less about the money and more about, look at all these friends that we have. Look at all these fancy people who like us. Look at, Oprah, one of the most beloved people on earth, likes me, and again, friendships can be transactional for anybody, but I think when you have a lot of wealth and when you have a lot of fame, they're especially transactional, or there's a very high risk of it being transactional. And so I wouldn't be surprised that there are things that we don't know about, that are happening. Even Oprah probably has dreams and things that she wants to do, and having a friend that's a billionaire probably helps her achieve it. I don't know. This is all speculation, but
I think Oprah's a billionaire herself. I find it hard to think of something that Oprah has that she couldn't fund herself. But I thought, again, possibly subversive in the Vogue piece. There's a moment where Lauren cries out when she's in her dress fitting that she feels like a princess. And the people that call back on her and they all go, oh, you look like a princess. You are a princess. And of course, they are the seamstresses, the stylists, the production people, i.e. everybody is being paid for.
Our staff. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so, again, now I'm going to watch all of the content that Vogue put out with your theory, and I'm going to see it differently. But yeah, again, like maybe that was on purpose. And again, if you've been around, again, fame and wealth, like that's what often happens. Like they're surrounded by people who are on their payroll.
Paid help.
Oh, it's just that it's so a different world. And I think the best famous people and the best rich people are the ones that have real friends and not friends that are sort of getting something out of that friendship. And maybe that's one of the things that's going on. I don't know. It's very perplexing. It's very perplexing. It'll be something to watch. For sure.
It'll be something to watch. It'll
this
be something
weird
to
friend
watch.
Group.
Yeah. Well, the mob, the celebrity carnival will turn up at the next thing, whoever's wedding it is, or
for sure.
Whatever prize-giving ceremony it is. Perhaps it'll be Donald Trump's Nobel Peace Prize ceremony that they will all turn up.
I can't wait for that guest list.
I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be my final, my 13th reason.
I think we'll see a lot of people that were on the inauguration dais back again. Anyway, Liz Plank,
sure.
Truly an honor to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Cyberbullying for democracy. Let's discuss. Go to our comments page on YouTube and leave your thoughts on this emergency podcast about the joining in matrimony of Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez, and may they have many foam parties in their future. Don't forget to subscribe to The Daily Beast for up-to-date information on their honeymoon. Oh, and other things, of course. Leave a comment and don't forget, be beast. This podcast was produced by Devon Rogerino